A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. On this week's episode, you just get me, Ben, along with my good friend, my mentor, my hero, Lonnie Jones. And we'll get with Lonnie Jones in just a moment after these messages. The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joy Rider, the second book in our series, focuses on helping you learn how to find joy in difficult times and to see how people with special needs also have some wonderfully special powers of encouragement. You can pre-order your copy at benandtravis.com/books. I'm Ben Hayes, and I'm the pulpit minister at Highland Park Church of Christ, and also work with Three Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals and Marsville Bible School over in Florence, Alabama. And Travis is not with us at this time because he works hard and does all kinds of things, and I just happen to be on a trip today with Mr. Lonnie Jones. We have been together all week long at the EAPA conference,
Employee Assistance Program.
Yeah, and great little conference, actually.
Real nice. Best kept secret in mental health in Alabama.
It is, and we have enjoyed being here. We got here on Monday night. Conference kind of started off with sessions on, actually it started off with the best presenter on Tuesday morning that they had, and that was Lonnie Jones.
Well, I wouldn't hardly say that.
Lonnie Jones got to be the first one on there, and he started it off right, and then we've had stuff all day, every day. We have eaten well.
Oh, man.
All weekend, because we were at the Gulf. So, when you come to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Perdido Key, this area, there is all sorts of good food to eat, and we have done so. Lonnie, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm well fed. We just finished our second trip to the same restaurant, and I am very satiated and satisfied at the moment.
It doesn't. That doesn't happen very often, does it? We don't often go to the same restaurant, especially back-to-back days.
No, not on vacation. Not typically. Well, Jackie and I do. I mean, we went to this little seafood place. I think we were in either Florida or Texas. And we found this little place, and we ate there 3 days in a row. But it was within walking distance where we were staying, and we were just lazy and didn't want to get out and ride around in the tourist crowds. It was great. Yeah,
well, we loved. We've eaten some good places down here, but we found this little spot that was recommended by our guide on a bowfishing trip the other night, and we decided let's go try it, because if a local tells you to try it, you go try it. And we liked it so much we went back tonight.
Yeah. So they ordered a pork chop, and I ordered the shrimp and grits. And I tasted Ben's pork chop and went, I got to have some more of that. And so we went back, and I ordered what they ordered, and they ordered what I ordered, and everybody was happy. We left well fed and satisfied, and nobody was disappointed. Everything they have there is off the chain, to quote our good friend Reed Swindle.
Incredible. It was shrimp and grits is what I had. Is what he had the first night, and it comes with a grit ball. So it's fried grits in a ball, look like a giant hush puppy.
Yeah, look like a giant hush puppy full of grits. It was great.
So good. It was.
And then I had the pork chop covered in blueberry dressing or blueberry barbecue sauce. And pork chop about 1.5 inches thick, and wow, it was out of this world.
So good. We've spent a lot of time down at the beach this whole weekend. I mean, we went down there for
12.5 minutes.
We've been inside all the rest of the time, but we did decide to go at least get our feet in the water, and then there were things there.
Yeah, there were jellyfish there. I got about hip deep, and of course, if you're talking about me, that's not very deep. And I saw 4 jellyfish within the first 4 seconds. I went, "Now you're not putting that on me, Ricky Bobby."
Yeah,
so I got out to water.
Yeah, but we did spend a little time on the water.
We did.
A couple of nights ago, we got to go bow fishing. That was quite the experience.
Orange Beach bow fishing with Captain Ron. I fished with him a couple of different times, and he's a good guide. And we shot some sharp-nosed stingray, a cow-nosed stingray, shot at a bunch of mullet, and then Ben Hayes center punched a blue crab, which was an incredible shot.
That was pretty fun. So we had a good time doing that. And it's always interesting to me. And of course, this conference has been kind of that way. There's been a lot more interaction with some Christians at the conference, some practitioners that are also believers. And that's been kind of a cool, refreshing thing, but it's also neat to get out there and talk a little bit of Bible with even Captain Ron.
Yeah. We got to do a little bit of spiritual discussion with Ron, and he listens to a guy. I read the guy's books, Life from a Deer Stand.
Yep.
And he has some interesting perspectives on life. And so we got a chance to, I don't know if you full blown call it witness to him.
No.
But we made a connection.
Yeah.
He wants the Ben and Travis book for his adopted son. And then I'm going to send him a few little goodies from my warehouse of stuff. And maybe we'll make a connection that goes beyond just shooting fish with a bow.
That's what, that's what it's about, is trying to find those opportunities, friendships or connections, and being able to talk to people and get a little deeper in the conversation. He's a really neat guy, had a really cool story, and we've had a good time with some of the people here at the conference as well. Lonnie might have had his first experience ever playing bingo.
Yes, I don't think maybe I played it as a kid one time or something, but I played bingo and played the whole time and didn't scream and flip tables over. It was
that's
mind-numbingly boring, but it was enjoyable.
I got real close a time or two because I have
I needed one. I needed
left.
I needed B5. If they would call B5, I would have been able to shout bingo, and I'd have done the Manning Brother commercial or whatever that kid is on TV. I'd have thrown chairs and Ric Flaired them. I was ready, but they didn't call me. I think it was rigged.
Yeah. Well, I was real disappointed till this morning. They actually called my name on one of the drawings, and I thought, okay, well, I can't complain too much. I want a mug that has a spoon in it, so I don't know what that is, but that's what I got. So it was better than picking the flowers that were there. They said I could have one or the other, and I was like, I'm taking this because the flowers will die. I might can keep the mug alive. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe so, yeah.
But, we usually have Lonnie on here. I think maybe some of the only times he's been on here are the Ask Lonnie Jones Anything, and maybe with our SWAT.
Yeah, the SWAT interviews.
And so we've done that. So we're going to just ask you some questions, and you can welcome to ask some questions back or whatever. But I'm just kind of curious. Tell us just a little bit. And I know it was a 2-hour session that you taught first thing Tuesday morning. Great session. On kind of on your book, kind of went into details about your book, but tell us just in a synopsis, what was your thing about, and what's your book about? I mean,
so when they put out a call for presenters, I have used this little book. It's essentially about self-care. It's based in the principles of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's called Grappling with Life, Controlling Your Inside Space. And of course, if you're a grappler, you know anything about the sport of jiu-jitsu, winning the inside space is the game. If I keep you out of my inside space, you can't hurt me. If I can get in yours, I can rule the match. And so based on some principles I learned from Brandon McGathrin and Matt Scaff, especially on framing, I came up with these little, I guess you'd call them antidotes or metaphors about protecting your head, your heart, and your soul. And there's 10 principles. And they're all based in some way, shape, or form in something that has to do with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu technique. I've done the workshop as a lecture like I did here.
Yeah.
I've done the workshop as a demonstration. And then I've done the workshop over a weekend where we actually taught a little bit of jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And of course, the two strongest principles, number one, whoever controls your head controls your body. And that's an introduction to cognitive behavioral therapy, implicit beliefs, core belief systems. And the actual physical thing is, if I get a hold of your head, it's the lever to your spine, and I can make you do anything and go anywhere I want you to go if I've got your head. And then the other one is the principle of a chokehold. And a blood choke in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu it's not an asphyxiation choke. It keeps the blood out of your brain and you pass out. And if I separate your head and your heart, I destroy you. And so we talked about being genuine, not disingenuous, and not letting our values and our beliefs and our lifestyles be incongruous to each other.
Yeah.
And so that was the first point and the last point, and there's a couple of points in between.
Yeah, and that's great. And only 2 hours worth.
And then Ben was my demonstration person. This crowd was not going to volunteer for anything. And so I got to use Ben to demonstrate a couple of things. And of course, Ben's a super cooperative guy. I've done these demonstrations where the guy that you are going to demonstrate with gives you about 80% resistance.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of actually do the technique on him to show people it really
Yeah.
works. And the audience doesn't know what's going on. They just realize, oh, wow, that wasn't as smooth as I thought it would be. And then some big fool goes to sleep.
Well, I tried to tap early most of the time because I didn't really want to feel the pain too much.
Tap early, tap off.
Yeah, but the last one I decided, well, I'm gonna hold on to it a minute just to kind of demonstrate that it goes quickly. And they said I started turning white, so I don't know.
You changed a little color,
but it was okay. I got to tap. I stayed alive. We're good. And then you actually, the guy who kind of organized the conference, or one of the guys, wanted to learn some techniques.
Yeah, he'd been wrestling with his son. And so between the bingo games, we went over in a corner and did a little demonstration of if you're heavy on one side, you're light on the other. And I demonstrated, that I could control his head and control his body and did some base get-ups and different things. I'm not sure he was more interested in testing me or learning. I'm not real sure.
You never know.
But we didn't hurt anybody much.
Well, so a question that kind of popped in my mind is, one of the sessions today, they talked about some self-care and making sure that you take care of yourself, do some things that are helpful to you. I think they talked about emotion and physical and spiritual and several different elements of that self-care. And we had to take a test. My numbers were kind of high as far as stress levels, or as far as, needing to do. I think they were talking about the grind of
the grind culture.
Grind culture and hustling and, all that kind of stuff. And so I guess with mine, it was a little high because I'm stay pretty busy. I have a lot of different things that I do.
So do you have more jobs or more kids?
I have more kids currently, but not by much.
But not by much. Okay, so you got 5 children and 3 different distinct jobs?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So, stay pretty busy. So mine was kind of high. Yours was a little bit lower. So I'm curious, tell us a little bit about the reason you feel like yours is. I mean, obviously I know you're in a different phase of your life than I'm in, but you also, I think you do some things to kind of help yourself in controlling some of that. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
To protect myself physically, I try to be active. I have a workout regimen that I try to do. I'm not, a hardcore athlete or anything. I'm declining. I've reached my athletic prime, but I try to preserve my mobility and I try to preserve my cardio. Yeah. And so that involves a calisthenic routine and sometimes a running routine. I'm trying to teach myself to be a better swimmer. And when Jackie retired, we got a little spa that has a current.
Yeah.
So it's like a treadmill in water and you swim against it. And I try to do that to, keep my heart healthy. And then I eat very, very well.
Okay.
As far as taking care of my blood sugar and stuff like that. And that's made a tremendous difference in just my energy levels and how I feel. And then I do things that are not stressful. If your hobby causes you frustration or stress, it's not a hobby, it's a job. And so I do things that I enjoy, and I enjoy them whether I'm successful or not. If I go deer hunting, I spend the time in the woods, and killing a deer is ketchup on the French fries.
Yeah.
Same thing with the bowfishing. We knew we weren't going to shoot a lot of fish based on the weather, but we wanted to be on the water.
We were on the boat
under the moon in the intercoastal waterway, and just learning to unplug and have Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." And that idea of stillness is based in centeredness or balance. Sometimes it's even talking about how a rope is woven into itself. Or sometimes Craig Evans says it's like 2 strong men pulling on a rope, and at some point it's going to break. Well, you have that expectation that God is in control, and you have this ability of stillness. It's not if, but when.
Yeah.
And so once you are balanced spiritually, the physical and the emotional kind of take care of itself. And I'm not saying I've got it all figured out spiritually by any means, but there's a place where you just go find stillness.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with my workout routine and my hobbies. I find stillness.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. So, speaking of your workout routine, you're pretty fit. And I won't say for your age. I mean, I didn't want it to sound that
Easy
way,
now.
but
All
you're
right.
a fit guy. You can take me on. I know that, and a lot of other people I know. So the question is, how many men would it take? Would 100 men be able to take down Lonnie Jones? Because I mean, everybody's been talking about the gorilla thing. So could 100 men take down Lonnie Jones?
Absolutely, without a doubt. The most people I've ever wrestled with at one time, and remember, I was a college student, and these were high school students, and they were the front four of Jackie's football team.
Nice.
And we weren't really fighting, but we weren't really playing either.
Yeah.
And they jumped me in her front yard, and I made a stack out of them pretty quickly. She called me a barbarian and walked in the house and slammed the door, which I'm not sure how I felt about that. It doesn't impress chicks, by the way, but a trained man will defeat an untrained man with monotonous regularity, and an armed man will defeat an unarmed man with monotonous regularity. And you can arm yourself with training.
Yeah.
I think that's what Paul talks about when he talks about, giving diligence to be approved as a worker of God. You spend time and be diligent to be competent with Scripture, and you're not unarmed if you were to have to take on 100 temptations at once.
That's a good point. Well, in keeping with that, how many Lonnie Joneses would it take to defeat a gorilla? Could 100 Lonnie Joneses take down a gorilla?
What toys do Lonnie Jones bring to the party?
Well, let's say you had none.
None? No, in sheer overwhelming numbers, I think 100 of anybody can handle a gorilla. Because you think about what would
if the first one doesn't run away when he sees that grape pop on the
first
or the guy's gone when he crushes the guy's head. Yeah.
But you think about 100 bees and you think about 100 ants and you.
Yeah.
You think about 100 birds and you. 100 is a number. That is number. Over, yeah. A centurion soldier was in charge of 100 soldiers. Well, why the Romans run 100 men?
Yeah.
Well, there's
overwhelming.
There's something there.
Yeah.
And so, I think 100 of anything could be. I think you could take 100 Yorkies and get a gorilla because there's just something about the sheer volume.
Yeah.
And especially if you ran them in waves.
Yeah.
I think you win on that, but I don't know anything about gorillas other than they're, average about 5'9" to 5'11" and weigh 400 pounds, but they're a force. They don't have a prefrontal cortex and they don't have opposable thumbs.
Yeah.
And I think that wins the day in lots of things. Now, as far as just sheer brutes, no way, man.
Yeah.
Dude, an orangutan, which is smaller than a gorilla, can bend a 2-inch steel bar.
Yeah.
Just like the old Superman stuff on TV when it was rubber. And I think it would be a fell and terrible challenge to put your hands on a large ape.
Well, you'd have to understand. And I think that the point is some of them are going to die.
Oh yeah.
So you got to be committed. We were talking about. I mean, and in no disrespect, this is meant in 100% respect towards anybody. But on D-Day, that we were talking about that the other day, they just threw so many people on the beaches. And it was like you can't defeat all of them, and those guys were so committed. They were hitting those beaches to do something.
And this, if I understand it properly, the rationale behind dropping the first atomic bombs was the mainland had never been invaded, and there were millions of people, and they believed their emperor was a god, and they would have lined up in lines, unarmed or armed, and died for that emperor.
Yeah.
And the millions of lives that would have been lost in a invasion. And it's just the idea of just the sheer numbers, the overwhelming numbers wins every single time.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Well, we're down here at the beach, and it's a really amazing place. You've been to some amazing places all over. We talked about yesterday, you and I sat on the balcony and we talked about, just looking out over the ocean. It's kind of overwhelming when you look at the Gulf. I know it's the Gulf. Okay. There's some of you guys get offended if we call it the ocean.
Gulf of America.
Pretty sure it's connected to the ocean. So
Gulf of America.
The ocean. But the Gulf of America, as we look out over it, it's kind of overwhelming, but because you just think about how big it is. and how you're just a speck to it. We went out there and we're looking at how many thousands of shells are on the shore. And so anywhere you go, you can be amazed at the beauty of creation, the beauty that God's made. And we've been blessed as ministers and just as individuals to go to a lot of places I'm sure some other people never get to go. So where's some of the most beautiful places that you could say this one ranks right up there as one of the places that I really looked at and said, that's a picture of what God's done?
Oh man. Yosemite National Park in California. Got to climb a couple of days out there, and just the austereness of those granite structures. We were climbing on the left shoulder of the buttress that connects to El Cap. Now, not on El Capitan, but we were, 500-600 feet up, and you look down the valley and you see the Three Sisters, and you see where Half Dome is, and you just, it's just the
massive
metamorphic or the granite rock that comes out of there. One of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. The mountains of North Carolina, just unbelievable. And then we live in an area in northeast Alabama. We have the Paint Rock Valley. I'd rather be on Kill Mountain as I had anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then, of course, you've got places in Tennessee, like Fall Creek Falls. One of my favorite places to go is that Savage Gulf area in Fall Creek Falls. I'm a mountain guy, not a beach guy. I've seen some pretty beaches, but I gotta have mountains.
I've seen some beautiful spots. North Carolina, walking the Appalachian Trail with Halo several years ago. We got up on this one peak, and you could look off both edges. We were kind of walking the knife edge, and we could see off both sides and some beautiful mountains around. I love Gatlinburg. Get up in one of those cabins, and you're kind of looking over all the valleys and the mountains. Alaska, the mountains.
I've been to Alaska.
Just beautiful. And, I've been to Hawaii. I think it was a beautiful island. It's been many years ago. I've flown past Everest a few times. I don't want to get any closer to Everest than that.
Never seen Everest up close. In Hawaii, we did a zip line on the farm where they filmed the original Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, nice.
And I've run over the hill that Indiana Jones runs over when the Hutu are chasing him.
Oh,
the Javitos, not Hutu.
Yeah.
When the Javitos are, so I run over that hill yelling, "Jock, get the plane! Jock, get the plane!" And then was also that farm is where they filmed Jurassic Park.
I was about to say, I thought it was the same place.
It's the place where they see the Brachiosaurus for the first time.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. We got to zip line over one of the forests there.
Oh, that's
from
cool.
peak to peak. You were 90 seconds in the air. And of course, it was a tandem zip line, I stepped off the platform and I inverted. So I went across the thing upside down.
Nice.
We got to the end. I told Jackie, I said, I turned upside down. She said, I opened my eyes once.
In 90 seconds.
Yeah.
One time.
She closed those eyes, buddy. Went across that zip line.
Zip line did a lot of good. And 90 seconds is a long time on a zip line.
That's a trip, son. I'm telling you. That's a long time.
Yeah. What were you doing? What was top speed like?
Oh, I don't know. Probably
20, 30?
40, 45 miles an hour.
Oh, really? Wow.
The guy said, I did one zip line, and it was the high line that ended the thing. And the guy said, based on your size and weight, you'll probably do 60. That was in West Virginia.
That's getting it.
But this one, we were 200 feet above the rainforest canopy from peak to peak.
Okay.
And so it had a pretty good little run. And you just
like step off of a platform.
You stepped off a platform and you were rolling. And so it had a pretty good angle. So I bet we were doing in the low 30s or maybe high to close to 40 miles an hour.
I did a zip. There's a place, I think it's in like Oakville, Alabama, above Birmingham somewhere. Oakman. Yeah. Maybe that's right. And it was they got a little retreat center that's there. Jacksonburg goes to, and there's a zip line that goes across the lake. And so we rode that one across the lake, and I kind of turned upside down in it and held on. I probably didn't invert quite as far as you did, but I inverted farther than anybody else did. So
well, if you're in an upper body harness, then you can invert without, if it's not a class 2 harness, you're not really supposed to invert in it. We didn't let them invert on our ropes course based on those Robertson harnesses that we used, but you probably could. We just didn't.
Yeah.
But that's,
well, it's a pretty cool place to be. And of course, I I try to find those things because you can go anywhere and everybody thinks their place is beautiful. I mean, everybody goes, hey, this is God's place, or this is, the best place on earth or whatever. Maybe some people don't, but a lot of people love where they come from. And the reality is it was all created by him. So it's all pretty beautiful. And so I get to marvel at his creation in a lot of different places, and I'm thankful for it. Maybe you guys want to comment on that too. So anything you got from the weekend, anything that you kind of taken away from, or the week, I should say, from the week?
The big thing that I picked up in this now, employee assistance programs, these guys go through a certification process and they can work as a certified employee assistance, which means a company or a municipality or a corporation contracts with their business to assist their employees when they go into mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And so that's what an employee assistance program does. And so they're basically,
it's kind of what you do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, on some level,
yeah,
with
I've got
SWAT team.
I do some employee assistance stuff technically for churches. I offer a retainer contract for churches to use my services. And then, as a chaplain, I'm a layer of what the police are offered. Right. We have the first line of defense is peer support, which Chief McMurray asked me to help start. It's now run by Sergeant Ayton. But I started basically the peer support in Huntsville. We have line level police officers who are trained as peer support specialists. Okay. Well, if the peer support runs into something that they need to refer to, then you have your chaplains and, spiritual guidance, just mature men who are men of God. And then some of us are therapists. And then if you don't like the peer support and you don't work with the chaplains, then there's actually a group of therapists that Huntsville contracts with called the Employee Assistance Program. Okay. And their insurance allows them to be seen 2 or 3 sessions for free. Okay. And then their insurance picks up and pays that. So, I do some of that with the city. We do that for first responders. Most people call me a police chaplain, but we really respond to police, fire, EMS, and even the county sheriff before he started his own chaplain program. Okay. But the big thing I learned about that is people who care for other people have to do self-care or they can't care for other people. Yeah. And so, if you're that person who mentors your friends at school, if you're that person who's going on short-term mission trips, if you're trying to be a servant, it's not selfish to do self-care.
If you're a minister,
it's not selfish to do self-care. And if you're a parent, it's not selfish to do self-care. Now, there's some things as a parent, there are immediate needs and you have to deal with them. But, if you're on a plane and you lose air pressure on that plane and the oxygen mask come down, you put yours on first. You know why? Because if you're not alive, you can't help anybody else. Yeah. And so as an elder, as a minister, as a parent, as a teacher, as a mentor, as a coach, if you're not practicing self-care, you're not giving the best level of care that you can. And so that's the big takeaway I got. Yeah. I think a lot of these guys are here to rejuvenate. I saw a lot of burnout in the room. Yeah. Like you said, I'm in a little different place in life. When I went into private practice, it was to simplify. And so, I don't have a lot of the stressors that everybody else does. And of course, my wife is my main source of stability. And then if I need to talk to a therapist, I know a good one. I'm sitting by him. And but my big takeaway is, hey, self-care is what you need to do. Not selfish, but self-preservation. Yeah. Well, and I think that's so true for ministers, for other counselors, obviously, who are here, but for ministers too. Is and if you're an elder listening to this, please make sure that you check in with your minister. You give him some ample time to be able to spend time with his family, to spend time, on his own. It's so important to be able to do that, to be able to rejuvenate. Jesus did it. He went away into the mountains to pray, and not just big decisions, but it just seemed like that was a thing he did. Often he kind of disappeared from the crowd. And so they need that. And so that's a great takeaway. I heard a lot of that as well. Might have felt my toes stepped on a little bit as well, that I need to do a little bit better at that. And so we probably all do. Lonnie, tell us a little bit about some of the things where we can find you. I know Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Yeah, it comes out every Tuesday morning. We have we're into season 5, almost finished with season 5. We redo our seasons in August. So we've been running hard. So LonnieJones.org. you can click that and find a link to the podcast, find a link to the books, find a link to original artwork, actually, stickers and T-shirt designs, and even some watercolor paintings that I did when Gunner was born. It's called the Gunner Collection. It's little forest animals. And
if they need to get in touch with you for services or for going on having you come speak.
If you want me to come speak, go through the website, lonniejones.org, or send me an email, lonjones@bellsouth.don'tjudgeme.net. And then if you need to contact my counseling practice, the email lonjones@bellsouth.net or 256-882-9799 is a phone that rings only in the office. You guarantee privacy. If you have my cell phone number, a lot of people give my cell phone number out, but that cell phone number is not private. The grandkids play Candy Crush on it, and then they play Khan Academy.
And so not the place to call.
You may send a text to an 8-year-old that says, "Hey, Papa Jonesy, what does," and we don't want to do that. So use the office phone. And when somebody tells you, "Hey, I know Lonnie Jones really well, and I gave you his cell number," if they knew me that well, they wouldn't give you my cell phone number.
Exactly.
But I do appreciate anybody who calls or refers, and keep up with Jones through the podcast. Keeping up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure would probably be a big favor to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, subscribe at that or whatever podcast platform you use. Subscribe to his podcast because it's fantastic. If you've never listened to it, then as soon as you finish listening to this one today, it's over there. So go look it up and listen to his. And we appreciate it very much. Lonnie, thank you.
Man, I love you. I love Travis. Appreciate who you guys are in the kingdom, and specifically who you guys are in my life, partnering with me in everything that I do. There's not a lot of people who do everything that I do, but you've been ropes course, you've climbed, you do SWAT. The only thing you don't do with me is law enforcement. But the only guys who actually
I'll leave that one to you guys.
The only guys who do that are the law enforcement guys.
They don't want me doing that.
Every other aspect of my life you're involved in, and I do appreciate it, and appreciate Travis and what you guys do on this platform. Man, just proud to be in your company. Larry Shields, when he retired from 32 years as a SWAT cop, he said, "People will talk a lot about me being a hero." He said, "But I have been in the company of heroes." And that's the way I feel about you guys.
Well, same here, and we appreciate you jumping on with us, and thanks for all the mentorship and all the really great memories. So
Man, good deal,
I appreciate you taking me bow fishing this weekend or this week as well.
And to let you meet Captain Ron.
It's been great. It's been great. So we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.